Hello everyone, today we have another news dump, this time going over Void 3.0 a little bit more than what we got to see recently, so let's just get right into it. The introduction to this post on Bungie.net, linked in the description, just kind of goes over what Void 3.0 actually is and all that kind of stuff. Quote, Void abilities haven't really been developed since 2017, and they were a reaction to the sandbox that was in Destiny 1, end quote. Now they're trying to use the stasis format with aspects, fragments for all the other subclasses. We know this already. The verbs of the Void subclass, the equivalents to, slow, freeze, shatter for stasis, are the following: suppress, weaken, volatile, invisibility, overshield, and devour. Most of these should be pretty familiar already if you play all of the classes. All of them should really be familiar. The reason there are so many is because each class is still trying to maintain their identity within the Void subfamilies, whereas with Stasis, all of the classes were designed with the same verbs in mind. How each class was able to interact with slow, freeze, and shatter varied, but Titans didn't get a unique verb just for them, like melt or something. Suppress stops active abilities and disables them along with movement abilities until the effect ends, with PvE enemies being disoriented. Weaken makes a target take increased damage, slows their movement, and disorients. Volatile, Titans know this one, target will explode upon taking enough damage, but if they die before enough damage goes out, they will still explode. Invisibility, self-explanatory there, you go invisible. Overshield, self-explanatory, you get an overshield. And Devour, same thing as it is right now, killing something when you have Devour active fully heals you in addition to extending the timer and giving grenade energy. Titans, our Ward of Dawn is basically only used for two things: giving your raid team a damage buff, and oh my god, run, that's so many ads, run, I'm putting up a ward, run. That's it. And that's because there's a delay when dropping it because it's linked to Sentinel Shield and the game needs to figure out which thing you actually want to do. Ward and Shield are now separated, so now Ward of Dawn can be used as an instant reaction to damage flying your way. Not only that, but it is now in the fastest super cooldown tier, meaning you can use it more often, which is great. Sentinel Shield will continue to work the same way. Thrown shields apply volatile, and shield bash kills give a full overshield. Titans have three aspects to choose from, and so do the other classes: Controlled Demolition, Bastion, and Offensive Bulwark. Controlled Demo is what you'll use to apply volatile to a target. Void abilities or other void detonations will apply it. Bastion is where you slam your shield into the ground, plant your barricade, either one, and give overshield to your teammates and yourself. And Offensive Bulwark is where, while you have an overshield or you're inside a ward, grenades will charge much faster and your melee damage is increased. You'll also get another shield throw for your super. Also, Titan Melee now appears to be a shield throw. Again, said it yesterday, love it. With Bastion, the overshield regens over time as well. It's not just a one-time overshield and it's over. So obviously Bastion and Offensive Bulwark blend really well together. Both of them use overshield concepts, which did leave me a little worried when it comes to Controlled Demolition. Volatile is a really fun thing to see in action on Middle Tree as we know it right now. Offensive Bulwark seems like the natural pairing to Controlled Demolition. More grenades and increased melee damage. That's great. But you only get those effects if you have an overshield, and Bastion makes the consistent overshields happen. However, it was brought to my attention that last August, when Bungie originally teased Void 3.0, it was said that the Titan's shield throw melee will generate a small chunk of overshield for each enemy hit. When watching the provided clip, it's really tough to tell because the person in the clip is getting blasted in the face and is also regenning his shield at the same time and also only hit one target. There's maybe like one frame where you can see some shield regen, but that's it. So this might depend on how much overshield you get from hitting multiple targets with your melee attack and if you plan on playing aggressively or not. More overshield per shield throw means you can play more aggressively. Less overshield means you'll maybe want to focus more on a grenade build while you try to keep the little overshield that you have alive. This Acolyte also gets punched in the mouth, and then it explodes as if it was volatile, but in this clip, the Titan has Bastion and Offensive Bulwark on. There's a fragment that we'll talk about called Echo of Expulsion that makes enemies explode if they are killed by Void ability kills. But this melee was uncharged, so does an uncharged melee still count as a Void ability kill? Does having an Overshield make it count as a charged kill? Is there maybe another fragment making this happen? I don't know. There's still many unknowns when it comes to the fragments, and I'm sure there's going to be a ton of build potential here, but I don't want to dwell on it for too much longer while we have so many unknowns. Hunters, y'all were whining a whole lot during the Vidoc. It's your turn for some info. You're still going to have Spectral Blade, Mobius Quiver, and Deadfall, but there are some changes. Quiver now fires 3 arrows at once. You can fire 2 waves of arrows, and they will track targets and apply volatile if tethered. Deadfall will now pull enemies towards it if it tethers an enemy. The Snare Bomb melee now weakens opponents. Weakens exact definition, again, being the target takes increased damage, has slowed movement, and is disoriented. In PvP, it seems like it'll just continue to be the Smoke Bomb that we know right now. Your HUD's removed, your screen is blocked, that whole deal. Hunter aspects are Trapper's Ambush, Vanishing Step, and Stylish Executioner. Vanishing Step, you go invisible when you dodge. Very easy. Trapper's Ambush is where you can activate Quick Fall, which is like Shatter Dive but for Void, and you make a smoke cloud when you land. Enemies are weakened and allies are made invisible. Snare Bombs cause allies to go invisible when attached to surfaces or enemies. This does require your melee charge to use. You're not just going to be able to spam that because that'd be ridiculous. Stylish Executioner is where killing a Void debuffed target, so that's suppressed, volatile, or weakened, gives you Invis and True Sight. After a Stylish Execution, and while invisible, your next melee weakens enemies. This should feel familiar to Flawless Executioner. Is it Executioner? Execution? You get it. So, Hunters, a lot more straightforward here. Invisibility is a pretty easy concept to grasp. And then we have weakened being the other main verb. So Bungie is really putting Hunters in a spot to be a debuffer. Flawless Execution had a little time in the sun in D2, like very little, like the sun just came through a couple of clouds for a couple minutes, but it never really took off in a strong way at all, especially because there's just so many things out there that increase damage taken, and then you also have the past 2 seasons with this ridiculous weapon buffs. Divinity also really puts a damper on a lot of those kinds of effects anyway because it's really safe and really easy. I would love to see a world where Hunters can become more of a utility player with their debuff potential, hopping from target to target, constantly weakening things, which kind of seems like the goal of Stylish Executioner. Weaken, kill, invis, melee, kill, invis, melee, you get it. Basically, I want something like Middle Tree, as we know it right now, to not only be good, but actually desirable for high-level content. Warlocks. I think Void is just going to be ridiculous for all y'all. Seems like Slova Bomb will still be around via Cataclysm. Regular Nova Bomb with the Vortex effect will still be around as well. It's seemingly getting buffed to suck enemies into the Vortex, and Nova Warp will still be around as well. The new Warlock melee yeets a ball of energy and actually does a knockback and makes the target volatile. Bungie thinks this will be particularly effective in PvP. We got to see 2 of the 3 aspects for Warlock already. Turns out the final one is called Feed the Void, which is just Devour as we know it right now. Chaos Accelerant, again, allows you to supercharge your melees. Magnetic Grenade is going to be handheld supernova. And Child of the Old Gods summons a Void Soul, which will go towards a target that you shoot with your gun, and then it'll explode, giving enemies the suck, damaging and weakening them. Then it gives you ability energy if you're on Healing Rift, or it heals you if you're on Empowering Rift. Then it gives you class energy if you kill an enemy that is being weakened. The build potential here is just really nuts. This seems like it's going to be really, really strong. I don't know what else to say about it. And I'm not even including any exotics or fragments. I think it just speaks for itself. This seems nuts. It seems so strong. I really have nothing else to offer on this. Speaking of fragments, here are some more examples. Echo of Expulsion. Void ability kills cause enemies to explode. You get an intellect bonus with this one. Echo of Provision. Damaging enemies with grenades grants melee energy. You get a strength penalty for this one. Echo of Domineering. After suppressing a target, gain greatly increased mobility for a short duration, and your equipped weapon is reloaded from reserves. You get a discipline bonus from that. And Echo of Undermining. Void grenades weaken enemies with a discipline penalty. So it seems like if the classes want to get a different verb from one of the other classes, it would be done via fragments, like Echo of Undermining, giving what looks like just straight up Oppressive Darkness from the seasonal artifact mods. Expulsion, however, doesn't seem like it will trigger Volatile. I think the description would need to say applies Volatile, otherwise that fragment would just be insane. So that is your Void 3.0 preview continued. Again, everything looking pretty good here. I'm wondering if we'll end up seeing fourth new aspects for Void like we had for Stasis. I'm gonna guess maybe not, simply because Bungie had all year for making new Stasis stuff and they weren't working under the constraints of something that already existed. Not to mention that they still need to make sure what they have right now is balanced, and they're also doing Solar and Arc versions during the year as well. I would love to be surprised though. I'm very excited for the build crafting potential here. I'm really pulling for Hunters. I'm hoping that Void ends up being that solid utility subclass that Hunters really need for PvE. They're a little struggling right now. I am skeptical, not gonna lie, pretty skeptical there, but I hope to be proven wrong. Titan looks pretty solid. Glad the defensive nature of the class is finally getting to shine a little bit more. And Warlocks, again, I think they just seem insane. I think Warlock might be the winner for right now before we actually get to play with everything. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.